Hello, you are watching the latest edition of Dbe TV News. We come to you every Friday on the Dbe TV channel 122 on OpenView at 12 p.m. and on Bricks TV channel 509 at 4:30 in the afternoon if you are a StarSat subscriber. You can watch it on the Department of Basic Education's YouTube channel. Welcome. My name is Tshegohatso Moagi. The top stories this week. Minister Angie Motshekga addresses UNESCO's 03 and 03 Plus 2021 Annual Review and Partners Meeting. The Free State Education Department is mourning the passing of a grade 6 learner after he was stabbed to death by another. We get an update on the situation in KwaZulu-Natal from the social cluster led by the Minister of Basic Education Angie Motshekga and Health Minister Dr. Joe Phaahla. Deputy Minister Dr. Regina Mhaule was at the 2022 Schools Democracy Week launch in the Northern Cape. The Eastern Cape Education Department meets with stakeholders in a bid to curb violence in communities. Let's start here. Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga says the UNESCO 03 program has been beneficial to the country's education system. She delivered the opening address at the UNESCO 03 and 03 Plus 2021 Annual Review and Partners Meeting. The meeting, which took place between the 4th and the 6th of May, is aimed at reviewing progress from the 33 program countries in the Eastern and Southern Africa and West Central Africa. The 03 and 03 Plus program builds on the achievements of the landmark 2013 Eastern and Southern Africa Ministerial Commitment, which has been instrumental in scaling up comprehensive sexuality education and access to youth-friendly sexual and reproductive health services for young people. Through the 03 program, UNESCO aims to reach 10.7 million learners in 45,000 primary and secondary schools, 30,000 pre-service teachers, and 186,000 in-service teachers.
Colleagues, we all know, as evidence shows us, and especially the COVID-19 pandemic, that education indeed is a protective factor. Children being and staying in schools to complete their education is truly vital and does protect them from the aforementioned vulnerabilities. To ensure that adolescents and young people become champions of their lives, as they said they were to step up, show up, and be responsible citizens, we need to empower them so that they can contribute to the development of their world. Achieving positive educational outcomes is extremely critical, and this is where 03 program has been very beneficial and extremely important. For South Africa in particular, we're extremely thankful that we have been one of the countries that has been receiving support from UNESCO through this program. We can attest that we are able to build up our game in strengthening the implementation of sexuality education and access to sexual and reproductive health services and rights in our schools.
The Free State Education Department is mourning the loss of a grade 6 learner who was stabbed to death by another learner. The incident happened after school on Wednesday, the 3rd of May, outside the school premises. According to reports, a fight broke out between the boys in the morning after the suspect allegedly bullied and attempted to stab the now deceased learner with a spoon. The suspect was told to go home and call his parents, but instead he went back to the school carrying a knife. The department has visited the school to offer counseling to the learners and teachers. After the break, we get an update on the situation in KwaZulu-Natal following the heavy floods.
Food safety plays a very important part in our program, and we give it the highest priority. So what we have done is that we have made sure that all our policy and guidelines also they address policy, they address food safety. And therefore, we work very closely with the Department of Health in making sure that we follow all the regulations that stipulate as to how food should be provided in terms of its delivery process. And you will see as of, in terms of this video, that we have a food value chain where we believe that right from the beginning, where that is from the growth of plants, of the food that is being planted, we need to make sure that even in terms of the manufacturers, we make sure that there is compliance and there are regulations that are being followed. So one of the things that we do in terms of making sure that we give the children the best quality meals as well as safe food, management as well as implementation is that we train our volunteer food handlers, we train our district coordinators as well as our provincial coordinators, just to let them have that information so that they make sure that the food that is being delivered at school, as well as in terms of how it is being cooked, it is the best for the learners.
The social cluster led by Basic Education Minister Dbe Tv, Health Minister Joe Phaahla and the Minister of Social Development Dbe Zulu have updated the nation on matters relating to the devastating floods in KwaZulu-Natal. 630 schools have been damaged by the floods. The disaster has claimed the lives of more than 60 learners, and one teacher and one food handler have also lost their lives. Although schooling is proceeding in some areas, in the affected areas, learning and teaching remains uneven as the department works to ensure schools can be rebuilt or refurbished.
The basic education sector has been quite severely affected, with more than 630 schools affected, 101 inaccessible, and 124 have seen extensive damages. We can confirm that 64 learners, unfortunately, have been reported to have passed away as a result of this disaster, while 5 are still missing. One educator and one food handler have also been reported to have passed away as a result. Schooling is proceeding elsewhere in the province, but in the affected areas, attendance is uneven. Attendance is improving as the situation improves, and there is support to make sure that there is a gradual improvement in the attendance of learners in those schools which have been badly affected as the teachers are returning to school. The sector is also monitoring on how youth and youth with disabilities are also affected and how they can be able to return. Now, as we conclude in terms of the flood-related briefing, we want to say that we're very grateful with the support and collaboration with all sectors of society, non-governmental organizations, private sector, all the assistance which have been made available.
Meanwhile, the Basic Education Department has explained how school will now start the process of picking up the pieces, either fixing the schools or rebuilding altogether.
So we have visited all the schools and categorized them into 3. There are 41 schools which are going to be fixed by schools themselves through the norms and standard allocation. And there are 263 schools, that's category 2, which are going to be fixed by the district offices themselves through the equitable share. And there are 300 schools which are going to be fixed using implementing agents. That's category 3, which means these are schools which have suffered excessive damage, which require professionals. The 444 million, which we have since been reporting on, is based on the assessment which was done after visiting all the schools and receiving reports from district officials and officials going out to assess the damage, and that being the figure that is required to fix those schools. The number of schools that are not accessible has come down from 101 to 52. By this afternoon, the number would have gone down even further, because the Department of Transport and other agents of government are working with us to prioritize those areas where there are schools so that learners are able to go back to school.
The department says it is providing support to the Provincial Education Department in various ways, including curriculum recovery.
In terms of the other questions, why more children have died in the floods, well, it's a difficult question to answer, but we know that generally in the country we have more young people, we have more children than adults, and we have more than one in one place. So we can only account for those that were in the system, but we know that the number is much higher because we have 5 in our records who are still missing. Others were not in the basic education system itself, they were in ECD centers. And as the recovery effort is continuing, we are expecting that the number will be much higher. How are we assisting schools with curriculum? Well, the attendance rate has actually increased. It's above 90% now, and that is assisting because we are able to account for the time that we have lost up until where we are now. The province of KwaZulu-Natal has put together a comprehensive recovery plan which is currently being applied in all the affected areas, and we are confident that they will be able to recover.
Basic Education Deputy Minister Dr. Regina Mahaule has, in partnership with the IEC, launched the 2022 Schools Democracy Week in the Northern Cape. The Basic Education Department has a continued responsibility to raise awareness in schools about the significance of active citizenry in order to promote democracy and human rights in South Africa. The launch of the School Democracy Week took place at Rekgaratlile High School with the Education MEC Zolile Monakali and other officials present.
Education, for the doors of education that were open, which is part of the Freedom Charter and part of the Constitution, is open for you. Then you have a responsibility to study, a responsibility to respect your teachers, a responsibility to respect your parents. You have responsibilities. Those rights are not free. They are just like education. We think it is free. It is not free.
Mahaule went on to urge learners who are eligible to vote to do so in the next elections.
Yes, we are here to teach you about the rights, and the main right, the right to vote. I know that some of you have not yet reached that year of voting. Retlile the Home Affairs. A mobile office of Home Affairs is outside there. For those of you who have reached 16 years, register to get an ID. When you reach 18 years, go and register to vote and be a responsible South African citizen. Uskaba responsible hela ho batlo ukuba mazimbabwe ya abatsona hengaro. You are responsible also. Uvote, unke ID, ube yona, uregister, uvote, ka hore government yona, idira the right tsa how hore di utswele mogolo.
MEC Zolile Monakali also took the time to remind learners that although they have rights, they also have responsibilities.
You cannot have rights without responsibilities. If you've got a school, your responsibility is to protect that school. You cannot allow people from somewhere else to come and vandalize our school, because the school is your future. Now, if you could have listened very well here, people are referred to as deputy ministers, as MECs, mayors, district directors, you've got the chief director. Those positions, you can only get them if you went to an education system. You start from grade R and you end up in grade 12, and you even go further to tertiary level. Because these positions, they are reserved for you. And you can only get them if you realize that you've got a responsibility. And at your age, your responsibility is to come to school every day. Monday to Friday. And if there are extra classes over the weekend, that is what you must do. That's the only thing that you are supposed to do actually. All the other issues are secondary at this stage in your life.
After the break, we go to the Eastern Cape as the MEC deals with interruptions to learning and teaching.
Warehouse definitely has a certificate of acceptability, and we do get regular visits from Environmental Affairs, from the Joburg Metro. So they come here constantly just to check that things are still in order, food is packed safely, food is put aside, because there are some food elements that should not be mixed together because there can be cross-contamination that happens there. So the way that we've packed our food is always in line with the regulation and it's in line with best practice.
So do you as a warehouse owner conduct or take your food handlers, those that are handling food in these premises, are they in any way trained in some sort of workshops that they go through?
All our warehouse and warehouse helpers, the people that pick the stock, run the summaries for us and all of that, they are trained as food handlers, and at least once a year we do refresher courses just so that people are well versed with what is the best practice at the time and what is it that they need to do and not to do when handling food. And that includes people that are in the trucks as well, that they always get refresher courses to make sure that they are up to date. Those courses are not for a long period. It could be a one-day course just to take them through the food handling.
Eastern Cape Education MEC Fundile Kade has raised concerns about disruptions to teaching and learning at some schools in Kafutweni. He, together with other stakeholders, including traditional leaders, visited the area after reports of infighting among the community, which has led to 4 schools in the area unable to operate. It's understood this has left some learners without parents due to the random killings taking place.
They are preparing to write the media term examinations now. So there is no way that we can allow any form of a disruption on the basis of any kind of a crime that is there. Equally, we have agreed that it would be imperative that through the district development model, all the district directors of the departments that have been cited here are called by the Office of the Executive Mayor, precisely, or the Ministry for Corporate Governance and Traditional Affairs to ensure that we will respond to some of the matters at a corporate level by the various departments that have been cited here. Your Department of Education, your Department of Health in the context of the clinics, your Department of Education in the context of scholar transport, in the context of some of the dilapidated pit latrines, the Department of Transport itself in relation to access roads, the municipalities, social development, because most of the people here are indigent families. We should require an intervention of social development and home affairs. So we have picked up all those things which would require a bit of an urgent meeting of the head of departments that are affected through a coordinated platform by either the DG or by either the DG or the HOD for Department of Corporate Governance in the province.
Traditional leaders have also raised their unhappiness with the killings in the area and the negative impact the infighting has on schooling.
Sisithi masikhweba abantu bokuhlala sithuna ukuzazela untoba abantu bathatha indawo yabo amadoda elali athatha indawo yawo akwazi ukukhusela abantu abahlala nabo edibene namapolisa. Siyathemba intoba sizaba nayo nepolice forum ezawuthi ikwazi ujongana nezimeko zinje. Sicela nakurhulumente intoba amapolisa athi gqolo ukwehla esenyuka kwenzela uba abonakale encedisana nabantu bokuhlala. Amapolisa ke awazukwazi ukuqeda lo msebenzi ewodwa, kufuneka encediswa ngaba bantu bokuhlala uba ngabona babaziyo aba bantu benza le mikhuba.
That's how we end this bulletin this week on Channel 122 on OpenView, on YouTube and on Bricks TV Channel 509 Starset. Before we go, remember to watch the Breaking the Silence series every Monday on SABC1 at 4:30 in the afternoon. Breaking the Silence is a 13-part series which has been developed to strengthen the provision of comprehensive sexuality education in life orientation by educators in the schooling system. Social challenges such as HIV infection, gender-based violence, early unintended pregnancies, drugs and substance abuse are some of the matters to be dealt with in the television program. On that note, thank you for watching.